And one who has made it here and cooked for us is, of course, Akis Palamidis from Gastronaut. Akis, come here and tell us, what is it that we have been missing all our lives? Oh, the clicker, you should have that.
Yes, I don't... Me? Yes. All right. So my name is Akis. I'm one of the co-founders of Gastronaut Catering. You might have seen us out there serving food. A little background about the company to set the stage. As I said, we're a catering company, but we do things a little differently. Whereas a normal company would have a central kitchen and some chefs and cooks employed who cook the company's recipes, what we do is we partner with immigrant chefs that live in Stockholm, and they come from all around the world. And they cook their own recipes from their home countries, food that they're connected with, that they love cooking, that they love eating, and they've been cooking for decades now. So today I'm going to talk about the best food you've never tasted. And I feel like I need to make a clarification here. If you're expecting to hear from me one dish that is the holy grail of foods that everyone will like, that's not what this presentation is about. It's more about how our perspective on food has evolved over time and has become much more than taste and how it affects our health. It's about ethics, it's about how it affects our society, how it affects our environment. So I'm sure most of you have been to a Chinese restaurant in Stockholm or somewhere else around the world and realized that there's no Chinese people eating at the Chinese restaurant. And the same thing happens with Greek food, Indian food, Mexican restaurants, you name it. And ethnic food has lost even its own people because of dumb commercial stereotypes that have wiped off completely the flavor, the culture, the craftsmanship. Everything that was embedded into the culture of the food that made it great, it has been stripped from that. And today we're going to tackle some stereotypes, and these are the reasons why we started our company, why we keep working, and the reasons why we're doing actually really, really good and people love our food. The first stereotype, the first food industry problem that we're going to tackle is food ethics with limitations. More and more people try to avoid meat for health and ethical reasons, and for reasons that we're all familiar with. And what we do here in Sweden and a lot of other countries in the West is that we eat salad and halloumi burger, and then we're waiting for lab-grown meat to become delicious, to become available, and to come to the market. But in between those two things, there's a large spectrum of food that we don't even know, and that's delicious, and we should be eating it. Take, for example, Indian food. India is a huge country, thousands of years old. Most of the food culture in India is plant-based, and it's really, really delicious. Yet you go to an Indian restaurant here in Stockholm or anywhere around the world, and you get dishes like chicken tikka masala and lamb korma. So why is this delicious vegan, vegetarian food is not served in restaurants? Why is it so hard to find? And the answer lies in the next point, which is the commercialism that the restaurants use to get sales, basically. All restaurants choose to provide food that is easy to sell. That means easy to prepare in terms of man hours, in terms of ingredients, and food that people are familiar with, that want to buy, because the restaurants have extremely low margins and cannot risk to change their menu into something that people are not familiar with. And this change of perception that this commercially does can be seen very clearly in Greek restaurants, for example. Any Greek restaurant you go around the world, they serve meat, because that's what Greek restaurants are known for. Nice steaks, souvlaki, moussaka with some ground beef inside, meat, meat, meat. But the reality is that, I'm from Greece, that's one reality. The other reality is that the food culture in Greece has always been based on vegetarian and vegan food. And when I tell my father about vegetarianism and veganism, he gets really, really confused. He can't grasp that there is that thing, there is a movement, because it's been like this for his entire life, and for my grandparents, and so on and so forth. So really, commercialism is skewing not only our perception of food, but in turn, the food that is offered by restaurants out there. I just recently heard about, maybe a month ago, a new Indian restaurant opened up in Stockholm that serves exclusively vegan and vegetarian food, which is fantastic. Another point, another thing that is happening is the demise of culture. You go to 10 Chinese restaurants, you get the same fried spring rolls, fried noodles, fried bananas, what have you. And it's hard to believe that a culture that's thousands of years old, that's so big geographically in terms of population, the only thing that has to offer is fried spring rolls and fried noodles. And we're all losing from this situation. Because food really is a vehicle for cultural understanding. Food hides stories of the politics, of the country where it was made of the environmental conditions, of the culture of the people. There's a lot of things that we can tell from food, even fashion. And as Chef Massimo Bottura said, cultural understanding is today's most important ingredient. Because with cultural understanding, we start gaining some knowledge about that culture. With that knowledge, we start becoming more aware, we start becoming more conscious. And from consciousness to a sense of responsibility, it's a really, really small step. Another problem in the industry is what people who work in the industry are facing. We see chefs on TV, rock stars signing books, living on that lifestyle, but the reality is that people who work in the kitchen are underpaid, are overworked, are unhappy. There tends to be this militaristic culture, which is male-dominated. Basically, in my mind, everything that could be wrong about a profession you can find in the profession of being a chef or a cook, unfortunately. And in our view, that problem is not going to go away unless there's more diversity injected in that environment. We are proud to say that about 80% of our chefs are women, and we represent at the moment about 17 nationalities from around the world. Talking of diversity, if you don't recognize this flag, that's the Somalian flag. And Somalia is a very good example to make this point. When you mention Somalia, you think of Mogadishu, war, violence, pirates, all this. And that's exactly why you don't see Somalian restaurants popping left and right everywhere, because food is not even in the picture when we think of Somalia, which ties back to commercialism. Why should I open a Somalian restaurant if no one wants to eat in a Somalian restaurant? And the thing about Somalia is that it has a fantastic cuisine. It has been an Italian, French, British colony. It has all those influences. It was a huge trading center back in the day, trading with China, India, Persia, Greece. Of course, they're located in Africa. They have those influences. And they have a tremendously exciting cuisine that we would be lucky to have in all the cities in the world. Wrapping up a bit, these are some of the most important points that we are trying to address. And the basic point, if we put all this together, is that the system is flawed. Restaurateurs get the bad end of the stick because they're really working 24/7, making no money. People that work at the restaurants, overworked, underpaid, we talked about that. We as consumers don't have access to a good selection of food and good quality food. So what we've done at Gastronaut, like I said before, we created this system of partnering with immigrant chefs, and we support them in everything they need to do, so they can focus on the cooking, from setting up their own company, doing their taxes, food safety training, hygiene training, and we really want to put their food forward and their faces forward. And they're independent partners from us, so they can have their own customers, they can work with other companies if they want, and they can truly bring us the best food you've never tasted, because we're really missing out on a lot of food from a lot of countries around the world, and it's a real shame. And what happens is, when these people get the chance to focus on what they really love, on food that they're connected with, just 3 months ago, we got nominated for a White Guide Award, side by side, 4 Michelin star chef Mattias Dahlgren, Frida Ronge from Restaurang Urn, and Stedsons in the Woods. We could never imagine that, including myself and our chefs and my co-founders, because we love immigrants, in just a couple of years, we can get on the same page as these fantastic people. So if you haven't tried our food, we're out there. We're going to have at the later break some edible bird's nest from China, which ties a bit to what Nina was discussing about Chinese before. It's called the caviar of the East, and it has a holistic philosophy to it. Pregnant women eat that a lot the last months before they give birth. A lot of people, and for the majority of women, eat that a lot because it's supposed to have a lot of health benefits and skin benefits. It's a bit more for the adventurous side of you if you want to try something new, expand your palette. And I expect you to lead the way.
Oh yes, I will have a bunch of those bird's nests if I can. I mean, it's really fun with the bird's nests and also with the with the duck feet that we had yesterday.
Yes.
And there's a lot of strange stuff going on out there in the food world that sometimes might not look appealing to us, but can taste really, really yummy. Like the duck feet, for instance, I really like them.
But think about this. Think about the first coffee you ever drank, or the first whiskey you ever had. You probably hated it, but you kept drinking it because Swedes drink coffee because whiskey is sophisticated. Now we like whiskey, we like coffee. So everything is an acquired taste. It's just
Everything is an acquired taste, and I think it's so fun because there are so many tastes out there that we can acquire. And I think thank you for bringing Gastronaut here and to opening the doors for us. And take a look at gastronaut.me. See all the fantastic food you can have at your next catering event.
Yeah, please think of us. Thank you very much. Thank you for having us.
Pleasure seeing you.